Anthony's answer his question as well, because there's a part of this which actually resides, has a resonance with me personally. That in specific is, how do you remove your own personal ego? Yeah. Now for myself, I've a coveted background, I've been successful in everything I've done, and I've been I think, a disciplined leader as well. My father stopped me in my grounds one morning, just out of nowhere. He's a very random man in that sense, but it's us who perceive him as being random. The reality is that he's very augmented. And he gave me a beautiful understanding of one particular dukkha, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, which was clearly mentioned over here for humility and stuff like that nature. And it's Hum nahi change, bura nahi karo. Very clearly, don't point the finger at somebody else. For me, this is a very personal travel, a very personal journey for every individual in this world, in this room. For me, it's about me slowing myself down to realize that actually the problem may not rise out there, it may be here. We should look inwards first. So that's the first sign for me to become very humane, very humility-driven. So that's how I've driven myself forward. Now, for my honest understanding of little of the Gurbani that there is, for me, in my head, my father said, even if you take one little small part of the Gurbani, one dukkha of the Gurbani, and run your life by it, humility is automatic. It comes back into your nature. No matter what happens, you'll lose your ego. It's just seva ingrains itself. Now, if I can just pass back on to Talbir, and thank you very much for bringing that up as well, because I resonate with that as well. You're talking to a person who had £500,000 worth of cars. I used to have Astons through to every vehicle that I ever decided and wished I wanted. Until I realised, in hindsight, why I actually had them. This comes from Hamne Junge Brane. The reality was I was so buzzed when I threw the keys to my family, to my cousins, to my brothers, to my sisters who drove out, my friends, just colleagues at work, who wanted to specifically take an experience with driving an Aston, a Porsche, a Lamborghini. By throwing the keys to them and watching them come back with a glee was what the real buzz for me was. So, with respect, going back to the understanding of whether you can have material wealth and still be humble with it, the answer is, in my opinion, yes. The intent is most important. Understanding of what Japji said, where she said, what you want by it, whether you can do without it or with it. That's very important for me as an individual. That's what took my life by storm. And that's really what I wanted to share. So it's just very important for me to share with it. So, Raj, thank you very much for such a sincere question, because that same point is what changed my whole life. My internal volition was completely changed. My mission, basically, if you understand what way, a really important quote for me was from Abraham Lincoln, when he clearly said that to help the poor, you must not become one yourself. So what we need to look from there is part of the internal journey, if this can help anybody, is on a Sikhi level, on a sincere level, that we need to find ourselves without a doubt. And a part of learning ourselves is learning our humanity. And then, what better philosophers have we got in this world than Guru Nanak Dev Ji, who can clearly see us as a selfless effect, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji are who gave themselves for another faith. The reality is they knew who they were, and that's what you do need to go. So, as a succinct answer to your question, yes, you do need to find yourself before you help anybody else. You know, the oxygen mask is an old analogy that my colleagues and friends used to teach within my organisations, is if an aeroplane was to be diving down and you had the oxygen mask to drop down, the key question to most team building questions would be, what would you actually do? You've got your loved ones next to you, you've got people around you who you want to help. What would you do? Would you put the mask on yourself, or would you go and start putting the masks on them? 99% of the time is I'd put it on my wife, I'd put it on my child, I'd definitely put it on my mum, my dad. So the reality, in strategy, if we talk about it, unless you put it on yourself, you can't help anybody. Because you're going to conk out. If you want to help the whole of the aeroplane, you must put the oxygen mask on yourself first. That's not selfishness. That's usually a nugget. That's understanding something. Just as a question, just as an extension to yourself, something that actually came into mind when you were asking about a model of kind of an outreach model to go and help people. There is a gentleman who my father specifically has mentioned. He's actually known by the name of Virji. He doesn't actually go by his personal name at all. He was also an individual based in Delhi. He comes from a very high, fast background in finance, I believe, in the Indian residence. Just to give you what he actually did, he made it his mission to change the way that health was delivered to people. So actually you go to Bangladesh today at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll find VNG with 20 to 30 top physicians, top eye surgeons, top health surgeons, top cancer surgeons, etc., etc., etc. All of these people who are gifting their time in Seva in the morning to anybody on a free basis. That's just at Bangladesh, if you can have a look there as well, and that's something I get involved in quite heavily with funding and stuff of that nature. So as a model, it's a matter of finding a base, finding like-minded individuals, and the standard procedure of helping people who are in needy places, but basically having a location that they can quite clearly, succinctly track, like an outsource environment. So if you want to talk about that another time, I'll show you. A Sikh, a Hindu, a Christian, it's of no faith denomination, it's a matter of giving, it's a matter of understanding. For me, it's been a paramount part of my life to allow myself to be involved as Seva in every which way possible. If people are asking, like today, this is not a personal journey for me to stand up on the stage for people. For me, it's about Seva, it's about getting back out here and actually saying, do you know what, I might have something, whether a small nugget of some value, that I can share with somebody. Even the one person in this crowd, it takes something from me. For me, it's been valuable. For me, it's been valuable on every single level, on a Sikhi level, to be able to give unconditionally. So if you cannot get involved in your community, how could you be humane in any way? How could you be in a position who's actually not giving? A very close friend of mine, if I may share, the gentleman's called Ed Walker, and if I may share his name, he's unaware that I'll use him as a quote just now, but he's one of the longest standing war-torn African missionaries from the Christian faith. He left at 21, came back at 30, so 9 years he spent in many, many, many war-torn African states. He said very specifically, which I think is core to Seva as a whole, he said, his quote is, a man, and I do mean this openly for brothers and sisters, a man is not living unless he is loving. So without that element in life, you're not really being anything in life. We need to give, to gain, to learn. Has everybody here not felt the slight benefit in teaching somebody something, which then actually augments it in a deeper, more sincere way than for yourself? When you share a learning with a child, you think, oh wow, that sounds pretty good. That's a part of Seva. That's a part of learning. You have to take the travel with the person.